Ever since I was really, really young, and when I say really, really young, I truly mean really, really young, I always believed that there was a chance that forever could happen for me. And while it felt like many times throughout the course of my lifetime that it felt like forever was a long way away from ever happening for me, that was the one thing that was constant. That was the one thing that I always held on to because I believed that forever actually had a chance of existing for not just myself, but for everybody. So for over 30 years, I would encourage that. In every video that I would upload to platforms like YouTube and talk about on sites like Facebook, I would always encourage people that forever, in a lot of my posts, could happen for them. And through talking about Descendants of Zombies, that encouragement has reached far more people than ever before because I've shared my story with you. A story that would go on to be so well received and responded to by countless people who came from everywhere, from all walks of life, regardless of who they were or what their story or circumstances were that may have befallen them. This YouTube channel has helped people make sense of Descendants of Zombies and everything related to it. And I've had the time of my life. I've often described this as feeling like I've been on a journey, and a truly unforgettable journey at that, where I've met so many incredible people along the way who have shared their story with me. I've never wanted anybody to give up on their dreams, and nor have I ever wanted to take their dreams away from them, regardless of what those dreams may come to be. Joining the cheerleading squad, joining a gym, becoming a member of the swim team, whatever your dream is, becoming a professional singer or an actress, quite like your favorite stars from Descendants of Zombies, who I think are beyond talented, mind you. They are really beyond talented, and they still have a long way to go. And I wanted to do something about the criticism that they were faced with. Every single night, we may not know this or hear about this, but every single night they are on social media. And oftentimes they refrain from using social media because they never want to hear what people have to say about them. Because oftentimes the reviews that are posted are very cruel. And I wanted to take away that cruelty and replace it with something really nice for people to watch. So what I did was I took it upon myself to create this Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel that I never imagined would go on to have such an incredible reach and have a profound way of touching so many incredible hearts in so many emphatic ways. I never imagined that these videos would go on to be so well received or go on to touch so many hearts, but they have. Perhaps it's always had something to do with how I've told these stories that I've obviously believed in, about vampires, werewolves, aliens, zombies, fairy tale characters, princesses, fighting fire-breathing dragons. I've told you everything because I believed in everything. And I know I may have went through a phase where I thought everything that I saw on TV was real, but that's what made those phases so cool, is that when you watch something on TV, you did think it was real, and you told everybody how excited you were believing that it was real. So what I wanted to make Descendants of Zombies was more believable to everybody than ever before who were holding on to forever, who wanted a chance at finding true love and to find acceptance in a world that sometimes was often very difficult to come upon acceptance. But once you came upon acceptance, you quickly realized that it was because of the friendships that you had, that you made throughout the course of your lifetime. And you quickly realized that the 3 or 4 really good friends that you always had in your life that were constant for you were all you ever needed. Kind of like how we formed a bond, because undeniably we experienced every emotion in the book. We cried together, we laughed together, we shared stories about how we each became fans of Descendants of Zombies that brought us that much closer together, how we became friends with people just the other day over Descendants of Zombies. You know, it happened 10 years ago and it's still happening 10 years later. People have never wanted to let go. People have refused to say goodbye, and I've never seen anything wrong with that, because years ago I was a really huge fan of Hannah Montana, and do you think for one solitary moment I wanted to say goodbye to Hannah Montana? No, I didn't, because I appreciated her music. I appreciated how you could give a girl a song and she could really sing anything. That was the thing about Miley Cyrus, was you could give her a song and she could really sing anything. There are far more talented people in Disney who have never been given enough credit. Dove Cameron was one of them. Dove Cameron was somebody who I really appreciated the lyrics behind the music that she sang, and often that she wrote, because she wanted to share a story with all of us. I really believe that you could give Miley Cyrus any song in the world and she could sing it the best to her ability and sing it better than anybody ever could. So as a result of that, I never wanted to say goodbye. I never wanted to let go. And I always wanted to give somebody something to believe in out there who may have listened to the same music that I was listening to. Like Freya Sky's new songs, Why'd You Have to Call and Silent Treatment, who are number 14 on the Billboard charts. The reason why they are number 14 on the Billboard charts is because Freya Sky may still have a long way to go, but Freya Sky still has so much to accomplish, and I'm really excited to see where she goes from here, because everybody is talking about her. She is what is the new phase for everybody, and I think that she is definitely more than a phase. She's often been described as a phase, but she still has a really long way to go. And I think that we can put her up in there in those conversations about who is going to be the next Taylor Swift, who's going to be the next Ariana Grande. She's definitely one of the top 5 suggestions that I would have to be the next Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande. The thing that I see is that we talk about the Eras Tour a lot, okay? So why can't we just talk about the Worlds Collide Tour just as much? If we're talking about the Eras Tour as much and as often as what we do all the time, because it's a hit smash with everybody, then the Descendants Zombies Worlds Collide Tour can be just as huge of a smash because of how people buy out the venues. There is not a single seat or a single ticket every single time tickets go on sale for Descendants of Zombies to be had because everybody loves it so much. You guys outsold WrestleMania this year. People don't talk about it, but you guys sold out WrestleMania, and you sold out every major sports venue because the Worlds Collide Tour was huge. It was one of the most successful concert tours of all time. In the over 900 concert performances Disney concerts have produced over time, this is one of the most successful. And why do you think that is? It's because we all believed in it, and we obviously felt very passionate about Descendants of Zombies, how we believed that these girls could really sing anything and had a chance of becoming superstars. And they really became superstars overnight because over 781 million of us gave 781 million hours to Disney Plus with stream time, with revenue. So many people gave it so much attention, which it obviously deserved. So I didn't want to come on here and criticize Descendants of Zombies for what it was worth because it wouldn't get me anywhere. What I wanted to do was I simply wanted to say something nice about your favorite stars, and I wanted to be a part of their stories. You know, I've often encouraged people like Clarke and and Freya Sky to put out memoirs, because putting up memoirs will give people an idea what their thoughts actually are and what their story details. It will give you a chance to get to know them better. I think memoirs are a great way to have an incredible reach, to achieve more promotion and exposure for yourself, and this is exactly what they want. I would love to hear Freya Sky's memoirs and what they detail. I would love to hear Clarke and Trell's memoirs and what they're all about, because a story can often be very beautiful. That's how these characters from Descendants of Zombies were first introduced to us, because of their stories, how intrigued we felt by them, how compelled we became by these stories, and we wanted to be a part of these stories. I mean, there were people going up to people like Kylie and Dove at these conventions asking if they could simply be a part of the Descendants of Zombies franchises. You know, if I were a creative writer or a director behind Descendants of Zombies, I would so encourage this. I would be so into that kind of thing, because that's what makes you worth what you do as a YouTuber, worth it every single time, is knowing that you touch the heart of whoever is watching your video. Because that's all I ever wanted to do. When you know you can touch the heart of whoever's watching your video out there, it makes every video that you go on to record and upload and edit worth it every single time. I've been doing this longer than many people who have reviewed Descendants of Zombies ever have. And the one thing I've always taken away from these franchises is this undeniable appreciation that you've always had for your favorite characters. And I've just wanted to share in that with all of you every single time the opportunity ever arose. Because I know there are people out there who, you know, feel very differently about things as Disney princesses and fairy tale characters, how a princess can fall in love with Prince Charming and stay in love with Prince Charming for forever. And I really appreciate how Disney has kind of changed it up. Like, you go back and you watch Into the Woods with Anna Kendrick and Johnny Depp years ago, and how Prince Charming never did win the heart of Cinderella because she chose something greater to have in life, and that was love with somebody else. It may have came at the hands of falling in love with a hunter, but she did. And that's what made these stories so believable for everybody, was that even if you didn't fall in love with Prince Charming, or Prince Charming never won the heart of Cinderella, you always had a chance of finding the right person for you that you kind of connected with. And I think that's what Descendants of Zombies has always encouraged us, is that no matter if we feel as if we found Mr. or Mrs. Right, we do eventually find Mr. or Mrs. Right because we come upon them. Maybe in some of the most unexplainable ways, and some of the most unbelievable ways. But life has this way, this profound way of being so mysterious, but always taking our breath away. Always finding a way of taking our breath away. And if you are somebody who believes in having your breath taken away and your heart stolen, then I think you should continue on believing in that while pursuing your passions, because you should never let anybody hold you down, which we saw from the encouragement of these stars and how courageous they were, because they did face their fair share of criticism, something I wanted to do everything about. If I was going to do anything at all, it was going to be take away the criticism and take away the negative vibe that Descendants of Zombies had first presented itself with, because there were a lot of people who really didn't want to really take much time to really understand what the value behind this story was, because the value behind this story existed with the undeniable chemistry and the undeniable love and support that came from all of these stars in these powerful duets with Dove Cameron and Sophia Carson, Red and Chloe. I know there are a lot of people who will forever prefer the original trilogy and their take on the franchise, But I think this new cast has offered us incredible strength, tremendous heart, dedication, and that's to be commended for. That's something to stand up and really support and really give a standing ovation for every single time, is that every single time a girl attends the Worlds Collide Tour, and she's so proud to wear her Worlds Collide Tour hoodie, who have never taken off those hoodies, that's what makes these moments worth talking about and reviewing. Because you know that there's this girl out there who's watching your video who really loves you with all their heart. They may never tell you that they love you with all their heart, but they really do, because you connect with them on both a personal and professional level, and and it all comes through sharing your story and how you can make that person watching your video really feel a part of something so special, which is something I had the chance to do. I had the chance to really experience, was becoming a part of your story while you became a part of mine, and that's obviously how we connected. Because if there ever was a guy out there, and I'm not just saying this because I'm the only guy who talks about Descendants of Zombies on YouTube every night. I'm saying this because it's what's real. There are people out there who actually trust in these stories about Cinderella, which is why she went on to become one of the most revered and celebrated princesses of all time. There are people who really have believed and trusted in her story. There are even people out there who have trusted in the stories of Snow White and Ariel, who was one of the most beautiful Disney princesses of all time. Ariel has been a part of every generation, and she's seen so many metamorphoses over time. I just read an article there earlier this afternoon, actually, about the evolution of Ariel, which I will talk about more in an upcoming podcast, but there's such an evolution and such a metamorphosis that these princesses have undergone, and I really think that we can really take time in appreciating what Disney princesses once were and what Disney princesses are now, because they've evolved into something extraordinarily special. And because they've evolved into something extraordinarily special, I think we can all take something special away from them, how iconic they became, and their stories. Because what makes a princess is their story. It's not always Prince Charming. It's the story that princess has, and the story that princess tells it, and the way the princess tells the story. You know, you can have a really cool story about a princess, but it's all about how the princess tells the story. And I think that how Ariel told her story was obviously very beautiful. How Belle told her story to the world for the first time ever back in 1991 was obviously very beautiful. Even the way that Elsa told her story about how she wanted to be something much greater than an ice princess. The thing was, no matter how they told their story, what it came down to is how much they believed in their stories themselves, and that's what made them so iconic and really heroes to a lot of people. And that's what led me to wanting to become everybody's favorite action hero. I may have never known how I was ever going to become everybody's favorite action hero, but I always wanted to be everybody's favorite action hero because I thought the thought of it was just so cool. And, you know, having the chance to talk about what Disney once was and what Disney is now, and to have the chance to make that comparison is really what I always wanted to be a part of. I wanted to be, forgive me, but I wanted to be everybody's favorite hero. You know, we talk about the release dates of Descendants, Wonderland, and Zombies 5 and what they might be. You know, there are people who are saying as early as July 12th. There are others who are saying July 18th through 19th. Nobody really knows, and that's what the reality of life is. Usually it happens about 2 weeks before the movie premieres to give you 2 weeks of PR for the cast to make appearances on Good Morning America and what have you. We will see that undeniably for E-Talk and stuff. Entertainment Tonight will be all over this kind of thing. But when the dust settles and the smoke clears, the one thing that will truly be undeniable is the love and support that came from the fans. That's what's always made Descendants of Zombies so special. That's what's obviously made events like the Worlds Collide Tour stand out and be superior, is because of how much we believed in it and how much we trusted in these things happening. You know, 10 years ago, we never imagined the Worlds Collide Tour would have amassed to being one of the greatest concert productions of all time, but it happened. I would have loved for the original cast to have this same experience, but obviously they didn't want to stick around long enough to see it happen for the franchise, and I think that everybody, obviously, this is what's made everybody feel very differently about Descendants of Zombies and what it's become. But if you actually give the franchise a chance and forget about the ratings and the reviews that have often been ridiculously posted on TMZ and RottenTomatoes.com, if you actually sit back and give this one a chance, it may have only been a 90-minute production. But in those 90 minutes, you couldn't help but fall head over heels in love with the story because of how the characters told that story. I mean, I can tell you a story, but if I don't pack emotion behind how I tell you a story, then what's ever the point of me telling you that story? I've got to believe in that story just as much as what you do, because that's the way you touch somebody's heart. And I know for a fact that some way or somehow, even if people never tell me, I know that these stories that I've shared with you have some way or somehow had a way of always touching your heart and coming through. And your love and support for Descendants of Zombies is what's gotten it through. what's allowed it to ride off into the sunset. Because every single time somebody chooses to criticize Descendants of Zombies, you are what allows it to ride on that white horse to the proverbial sunset and always achieve greater things. Because Descendants of Zombies has touched far more hearts than ever before, and I had the chance to be a part of that with all of you. So from my heart to yours, I would just like to take this time tonight to say thank you so much from wherever you're watching this video, or from wherever you may hear my voice, and also for having made this your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel. I have no unearthly idea why this has become everybody's favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel. Probably it's because of my nostalgic feel and my vibe for Descendants of Zombies. I really don't know, but I've obviously told these stories very differently because I obviously felt connected to them, both on a professional and personal level, and I've loved being a part of it. That's all I can tell you. I've really loved being a part of it and having the honor to come to you with these videos every single time the opportunity has ever arisen. So from my heart to yours, thank you so much for making this world a better place for us all to exist in. Thank you so much for being you and always being the one person that you've always known how to be, and that's yourself. And thank you so much for believing in Descendants of Zombies as much as what you have and as often as you have, because you've allowed me the opportunity to really come into your lives and to have represented you as a voice of Descendants of Zombies, which is an honor worth talking about every single time the opportunity ever arises or presents itself to us. Thank you so much for having made this your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel and feeling so strongly as you have about Descendants of Zombies. And thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to become a very valued piece of your very existences. Thank you so much for loving Descendants of Zombies with all of your heart, and as always, thank you so much for having watched these videos.